This really got started several months ago. It had been a long time since a thorough investigation had been done into the Department of Children and Family Services. We at WBEZ, knowing what Chris and the Chicago Sun-Times had done in the past and its investigations into DCFS, approached them to partner on this and do kind of an update on where the department has come. It took us in a way that we didn't really expect, in that we saw that over time there have been more kids dying that the department had investigated their families, and that was a very surprising and disturbing trend that we saw.
You hear these anecdotes all the time about DCFS horror stories, and obviously the agency takes great umbrage with them because they often attract lots of attention. So what we set out to do was try to look at deaths over the course of 10 years, and not only look at them in terms of the number of children dying statewide, but also the number of children who are dying that have DCFS involvement. In doing that, we started to look at recent cases that the agency really hasn't included in its statistics yet. They're so new. And one of them is the case of a little girl named Gina Presley who died at age 3. Her guardian's live-in boyfriend is now charged in that death with murder. DCFS hotline was called by her grandfather expressing concerns about the new boyfriend. Nobody came. The grandfather went to the police, told them what happened. They told him to call the hotline again. A week before Gina dies, DCFS calls the cops and says, go out and check on this girl. The cops get there and the house is dark. A week later, Gina's dead. It's another example of how, despite the best efforts of policymakers and politicians and police and everybody trying to get together in cases like this, there's still a failure there. And now we've got a 3-year-old that's deceased.
What we've seen is almost a record number of children dead in the last 30 years in Illinois. And the department's reasoning for that is not exactly clear. The department tracks deaths using one category of data. The department's watchdog, the Inspector General's office, tracks numbers in a very different way. And it's hard to correlate the two numbers.
So what we did to try to do that is we looked at 10 years of annual reports that the Inspector General did. We looked at every case. And what that was able to do was show that the number of child deaths that involve the system, in which parents are called out on by mandated reporters and others, those deaths are on the rise. So not only are the overall deaths on the rise, but the number of DCFS involved deaths is on the rise. So what we're doing is really raising questions about some of the statements they've made that only 1 out of every 4 deaths involves them. It may very well be accurate, but it doesn't seem like there's a real solid foundation for it. But I think it's important that we drill down on that because it's part of the public being able to assess the system's performance. So what we're doing here is raising questions. I don't know that we can provide all the answers, but these are questions the public should want to know about.